Good evening, folks. How are you doing? My name is Naranjo IV, candidate for the California State Governor's Chair in 2026. I just wanted to show you some roses here that I got from my lovely wife because it was her birthday this week. That was just one of the presents that I got to her. Let me move these out of the way just a little bit for some more lighting. Sorry, folks. Right now I'm on my patio. And I thought I would give a little message here for those of you that are out there watching and listening and paying attention to news, events, and everything else going in our world as we move closer and closer to December to figure out who's actually going to be standing tall for the governor's chair in the 2026 election. Many of you know I'm one of the what you would call diamond in the rough candidates, one of the grassroots candidates, one of the many Republican candidates that are officially running up to this point in time. Our contenders are there. The Democrat Party side is there. Lots of people running. I think by last count, it's almost 30, 40 people we're up to. So as I'm going through this hot evening today, on the 22nd of August, 2025, close to 10:30 at night, things have been going through the mind. As I look at the news, as I see the postings on X, as I see postings on other videos, that we are rapidly moving towards losing focus on what it is we're trying to do as a state. Recent news and events were now overshadowed by the Bolton raid by federal authorities searching documents, classified documents, all that information surrounding that issue. I understand and I get that. We have a rapidly increasing rhetoric, vitriol discussions, video after video of those people that are jumping out there making commentaries about the redistricting plan here in California that Gavin Newsom, Gavin Newsom as I now call him, governor in name only, and our legislature are forcing and ramming down the throats of Californians. We're not fighting back legally as we are trying to fight back in the ballot box, which unto itself is a noble effort, but most humorous, because everybody keeps talking about how California ballot boxes are just trophies for cheating. How even if we do vote, it's overshadowed by the corruption that seems to swirl around the very issue of voting in our state. We have AB 495. The state trying to take our children via other means, by surrogates, by individuals with solely one piece of paper for an affidavit. We just had a rally here in Sacramento to propose to stop that AB bulletin, AB 495. And while it was temporarily shelved, that doesn't mean that the process was killed. The bill is still around. It's just around in a different form to be surfaced again, perhaps to be surfaced in the thousands of bills that reach to the governor's desk at the end of any given year so that he can either sign or not sign before these things become law. We fought a good fight, but we haven't completely won it yet. We won a battlefield victory, but we didn't beat that war. And so when I look on X, I see a lot of people posting, and depending on who you're following will depend on what you see them posting about. Give you some fast examples. We're here to make California golden again. I'm here to bring California back to prosperity. We're going to ensure that we have $3 worth of gas if you elect me, because that's what I'm going to ensure. The flowery words, the impressive slogans, the generation of commentary, that's all part of the campaign process, and I understand that. But when you think about it, we're being conditioned to accept $3 a gallon of gas as if that's a good thing, as if you've brought something to California that's unimaginable, that you become the savior of our golden state and of our gas petroleum industries. And you're not. I took my daughter last year across the country from California to Georgia to start and begin her new career in the medical field. And across that drive, because we drove from state to state, my wife and I and our daughter, we found that everywhere we stopped to fuel up, gas prices a year ago were $2.56 on average across this country. $2.56 a gallon for regular unleaded. Now there's some price influxes depending on your station, depending on the fuel, premium, unleaded, diesel. I understand that, I get that. But $3, that's an acceptable norm. That's an acceptable good thing that you're gonna try and do for the state to make this state golden. Many of you have heard me say this before in speech after speech and video after video and conversations with you or anywhere else out here. I'm not here to make California golden again. There's nothing wrong with California. We have one of the greatest states in this nation as a state of this nation. From pine trees to palm trees, we have everything that you could imagine in California. Palm trees, pine trees, forests, valleys, rivers, streams, oceans, beachfront, cliffs, desert, depressions, elevations, mountains, snow, you name it, everything is here. And yes, unfortunately, every now and then we have a flood. And yes, unfortunately, every now and then we have an earthquake. And we also have rampant fires up and down the state due to one reason or the other. We're not plastered with hurricanes every year. We're not plastered with rising floodwaters because of heavy rains from hurricanes or weather conditions every year. We move towards surviving and getting past those events when they happen because as Californians, when the chips are down, Californians rally together. I don't care if you're a Democrat, or Republican, Independent, Green Party, whatever it is that you are. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Northern Californians dislike Southern Californians and vice versa. LA people don't like San Francisco people, don't like Sacramento people, and vice versa. We as a family can attack, slam, talk about bad, good, or indifferent each other to ad nauseum. But when you have an outside influence attack California, there's a big difference in public perception. There's a big difference in public reaction to that attack. You're going to have people who at one point did not speak to one another suddenly rally and galvanize towards one goal, defending this state. I've seen that since I enlisted in the military back in 1980, over 45 years ago. And it's not changed in 45 years. The people have. The state's still the same. The conversations are still the same. We just have a newer generation that's carrying the torch. I'm not a candidate that can read your mind. I don't know exactly what pinpoint items are on your mind for me to respond to for a question that's not even asked, and I'm not even going to try. So if you're looking for the candidate who needs to know everything you do in your head, but they don't seem to, then I'm not your candidate. If you're looking for the candidate that needs to respond exactly how you want him or her to respond to, solely to satisfy your individual desire to acquire one vote, I'm not your candidate. We have all kinds of those platitudes that are running around now. I'm the guy, vote for me. I'm going to make California great again. I'm going to do this. We're going to stop the grab. We're going to stop the steal. We're going to stop redistricting. We're going to stop. But there's nothing there that's meaty. There's nothing there that's indicative of what is it that you're actually trying to do. All you're doing is highlighting the obvious. We have a problem in legislation. Yes, we do. And who put those gentlemen there? Who put those individuals there? We did as voters. And we lost track of what we put into our office. We put him in there. We voted him in there. They sauced us up with promises, flowery words, look good, smell good, sound good, dress good, for all that. And then we turned as a citizenry and we walked away from what they're doing, and we're shocked when we look back over our shoulders after many months, many weeks, many years, to find that they're corrupt and that they're stripping the resources from this state just as fast as they're grown or produced. I'm not blaming the people that are in legislature to the point of what they're doing as much as I am looking at us for losing track of what they're doing to us and what we're allowing them to do. There are laws, but there are people who aren't pressing them. There are regulations, but there are people who are not following them. Case in point and an example. We have many organizations who tout that they have these programs to protect you and I from harm, to protect you and I if we whistleblow, to protect you and I if we come forward with problems. But this is California. And so let me be kind of brutally honest when you hear those descriptions of we have a program using this. We have a program, ladies, that if you are sexually harassed, sexually bullied, Sexually anything on the job site, you come to us. We will save you and protect you because this is what the program stands for. But we know what that reality actually means. We want those individuals to stand up and be counted so that we can turn around and watch our management team not go after the problem, but go after the person reporting the problem and find out that he or she was a bad employee, he or she was an employee with questionable motives, he or she was an employee that suddenly, after years upon years of dedicated hard work and labor and service, has turned rogue, anti-establishment, and was a problem child they all along wanted to get rid of since yesterday, when the person responded and reported to the problem. How many times have we heard that? How many times have we seen that? Ask your friends in government. Ask people you know in government. Heck, you might even be in government and has witnessed it. I know I have as a union representative, because I've defended against those things time and time again. And what's happened was there's no consideration for what I did. If anything, it just made management more determined to remove me defending the problem, to highlight that that problem needed to be fixed, not the employee being terminated for surfacing it. If you're embarrassed by that, you should have fixed your problem, not hung the employee out to dry, as we see so often. These are some of the things that are on my mind going forward. When you have children and you have this AB 495 bill, whatever the intentions are, you have some legislatures that are trying to pass laws to protect our girls from any type of sex trafficking, to protect our youngsters from sex trafficking. We have a gap in time frame for their age group. It's okay if you're over this age group, but if you're below that age group, suddenly that was omitted, that was overlooked, that somehow was passed, and we forgot. We're talking about children who are not able to determine where they wish to go through life. That's why they have parents. That's why we give them direction. That's why we teach them. I'm a grandparent of four grandchildren, beautiful grandchildren. There are probably some of you out there that have grandkids as well. I would like all of you parents, all of you grandparents, aunts, uncles, however it is, when you step into your child's room tonight, I want you to look at those children, and what you should see in them is your future, our future as a state. So forgive me, it does hit me hard on topping of this subject, but we're overlooking what's happening in our state. We defend those children to grow up so that they can dream to be whatever it is they wish to be. Engineers, firefighters, police officers, doctors, dentists, astronauts, rich person to change the world. It's their dream, and it's our duty to protect that dream, not to let somebody in the state who may or may not have children, who may or may not care about your children, to put up and surface an AB designed to not help them do just that, grow to maturity, to achieve their desires and their dreams. These are the things that I'm fighting for as a governor. I look around this state, and another example, if I can provide you, we have individuals who are singular-minded, solely minded. Everything is all about CCW, what I should know, what I shouldn't know, how I should be able to recite everything from paragraph A to Z in the law concerning weapons. I know a lot of things, but I do not know everything. God knows everything, not an individual. You can recite legalese all day long on one topic, while the world passes you by with the problems of this state trying to move forward. The high price of housing, the high prices of gas, of food, of staple stuff just to survive from day to day, the high price of energy, the high price of utilities, the high price of taxes. I could go on and on and on, but you get my drift. If I don't know everything there is to know about the Second Amendment and that cost me your vote, so be it. If because I'm a union member, or used to be, and I was a union representative for a local group here in Sacramento, California that represented county welfare workers, and solely because I was in the union, that cost me your vote, so be it. I'm not going to be able to please everyone. My goal is not to try to please everyone. That's unobtainable, and that's not reality. My goal is to try and help this state, to correct this state. But first and foremost, the reasons why I'm even running is for the citizens of this state. And you look at anybody else's campaign, their notifications, their websites, ask them the question, why specifically are you running? To make America golden, to make California golden again, because I want to put certain people in jail who have treated us so badly. That's great and that's fine and that's dandy, but how does that help and impact the average citizen of this state? Again, you've heard me say it numerous times, over 2 million people have fled since 2020, and the news reports are saying that every day, every week, more are leaving. Oh, they try to highlight the fact that we have people coming in, immigrants, whether they're legal or not, questionable, question. People are coming here. People might be coming here, but they don't understand what it is they're walking to or walking towards. And we have no report of how long those newly arrived Californians have stayed before they decided to depart. We have news reports that over 275 headquarter companies have fled California because of the business environment. Let me tell you what I'm about and what I'm trying to do to bring about change in this state for the citizens of this state so that we can grow and prosper as citizens of this state and this country. I'm not here to be owned by businesses. I'm here to find the compromise so that the business is successful, the communities are not harmed or damaged, and the citizens have a decent paying wage with benefits if possible so that they can move their families toward the prosperity they seek. I'm not here to be owned by big oil, but I'm willing to talk to big oil to find that happy medium and how we can continue to have your business operate in our state to provide the fuel we need and the energy that we need to produce the electricity to produce our goods and services. I'm not here to be owned by the farming community and solely divest everything towards only ensuring they get water. My goal is to ensure that everybody has the ample supplies of it to be able to do what they need to do. Live, grow, garden, farm, whatever the case might be. Those are my goals. My goal is also far-reaching and looking down the road in the future. We have a lot of people talking about making California great today, what they're going to do today, how they're going to handle today's problems, and that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've been keeping up with current events, our state is suffering a $25+ billion budget from this year to next year to the following year and to the year after that before the 2030 election process for a new governor. So for the next 3 or 4 years in the future, we face at least $10 to $25 billion deficits that Gino Gavin is going to leave the next governor of this state to deal with. Nobody talks about that. They're talking about today, but not about the future. We have individuals here and they say I was combative, I'm not of the ilk, I don't have the temperament, I have no clue of what I'm doing. But yet when I ask these same individuals, who here remembers the little town of Reedley, California? Most people probably have no idea what I'm talking about. Most people probably have no idea what I'm even referencing to. But for those of you who suddenly are aware, who know exactly what I'm talking about, for those of you from Reedley, California, and you know who you are, you know exactly what I'm talking about, that's the little town that some unknown state worker found operating in our midst, a Chinese biochemical weapons warfare lab inside of California. Who allowed that to be created, who allowed that to operate, who allowed that to be protected, who allowed it to be dismantled, who allowed it to disappear. I want to be able to find out and hold those people responsible, to bring them to justice, to find out what the hell was going on in our backyard and who in government allowed that nonsense to transpire. Travis Air Force Base is another item of contention that I'm looking for down the road of life to get answers. Who has been building or buying all the farmland around that air base? An active military air base, one of the biggest here on the West Coast. Who bought all that land? Who's pushing to buy all that land, squeezing people as it's alleged, forcing people as it's alleged, cajoling people as it's alleged to give up their land to surround that base under the guise of creating a new city, an electrified city, a more modern city, with a military air base smack dab in the middle of it. We've had air bases here in Sacramento, California. 2 of them were shut down. And if you remember the history of those bases, McClellan is the one I'll reference. We were promised at the time by then candidate Clinton that he would protect McClellan Air Force Base from closure against the BRAC, base realignment and closure listings that were coming out from the drawdowns of the military services. He guaranteed and promised that base would never shut. Around the same time, the folks there thought it would be a great idea to become a separate entity and be their own city called North Highlands, with McClellan as the cinchpin employer to their prosperity and their future. And lo and behold, what happened? BRAC happened, McClellan shut down, the city declared itself, and for the next 5 to 10 years, they're struggling to come out of insolvency on how to become a city that was prosperous instead of bankrupt and broke. That's what I mean when I say people give you promises and guarantees. I'm trying my best not to use those two words because we've seen it time and time again of politicians that promise you the world, guarantee you everything that you want, and deliver nothing except excuses. I'm not that guy. When I tell you exactly what I'm going to do for this state, it's exactly what I mean I'm going to do for this state. Is to take the fight for the people to take back our government. What I would like to see are those people who profess to know everything, do everything, say everything, and recite everything. I'd like to see them on my team helping me instead of fighting me to run for office. You're the expert in your own minds, you're the expert in your field, but if you were the expert that you claim to be, you would be in the very offices that you're trying to instill change from. We have a gentleman that's running for campaign now. I'd prefer to see him running for the state attorney general's office, but instead he chose to run for governor, and I applaud his efforts. He is standing up where others are simply on the sidelines making noise. And we don't need noise. We need people to stand up, stand tall, stand proud, and move forward. If you were anywhere near the Capitol in the last few days, you saw nearly 2,000 Sacramento people, 2,000 California people. Hell, I heard reports that we had people drive from out of state, all the way from Arizona, to stand up and stand tall against AB 495. That's impressive. That's movement. That's standing up. That's fighting back. That's attempting to fight back. We have too many people now in government that are happy and content with going along to getting along. We have too many people in government now that don't care about right, wrong, or indifference. They just want a check so they can go home on Fridays. Begrudgingly come in Monday, deal with the work week, and happily flee the job on Fridays because they survived another week. I've seen those in the military too. I'm a military veteran, but I'm a 15-year retired military veteran. My time started in 1980 and I retired in 1995. I've been to Europe for over 10 years in my lifetime for my career. I've been posted in Kuwait in a little camp called Camp Doha in the middle of the desert. I've been assigned to places like Fort Ben Harrison, Indiana, Fort Dix, New Jersey, Goodfellow Air Force Base, Texas. Missouri is where I started my whole military career in a base called, and commonly and however you want to refer to it as, Lost in the Woods, Missouri. That was Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Folks know what I'm talking about when I say that. I don't say it out of spite, I just say it out of reverence. It's where I began my military career. I've held top secret clearance in the United States military for 14 of my 15 years in service. Top secret clearance. That's not something that they just pass around because you're an idiot, you don't know anything, as I've been referred to. You get those because you showed competence and you showed diligence and you showed intelligence enough to retain and to protect the state's highest level of clearance and highest level of materials. And the reason why it was only 14 years out of the 15 that I served was because on the final year it was determined my status on where I was positioned and assigned no longer required that level of clearance. And so my clearance was downgraded. Nothing because of what I did wrong. It was just not needed anymore for my capacity at that time. I was a marksman with the 9mm pistol, shot expert, picked up onto the Fort Stewart shooting team, but I retired before I could actually go into competition. I've been an expert with the M16 automatic rifle, what's commonly referred to as the AR version style of assault rifles. Yes, expert. Every year for 15 years. So when it comes to weapons rights, gun rights, ownership rights, buying ammunition rights, everything else like that, I have a colorful poster which I utilize as my example of where do you stand on gun rights. I can show you better than I can tell you. So I'm not technically proficient to whip that out right now. But I will tell you this. I'm all for people owning weapons. I'm not for people having to put 5 different parts of that weapons throughout their household for defense of their homes. What I'm talking about is your ammunition is in the basement, your weapon is in the attic, and the key for both of those are in the bedroom 3 doors down from where you're sleeping. When the intruder comes in, what are you going to do? Oh, excuse me, sir, or sirs, or ma'ams, or both. Can you give me about 15 minutes while I reassemble my pistol so I can attempt to defend myself? Please feel free to ransack my home and threaten my family while you're doing that. I'll be right back. It's not what I'm about, not at all. I'm about businesses, I'm about people, I'm about individuals being able to protect themselves from the criminals who do and show no respect whatsoever against law, life, liberty, or anything else. Somebody breaks in your home, you should have a right to defend yourself. First off, the warning was, this is not your property, what are you doing crossing the line? It's the first warning. The second warning is you broke into a home that you were neither invited into nor had a key for, and you gained access nonetheless. Second warning. After that, it's on. Third warning is not going to be a warning. I'm not here to try and figure out or determine as an individual facing off against the intruder what your intentions are. I don't care what your intentions are. You've already violated 2 warnings by breaking into my house. The fact that you're there now poses a grave risk to myself, my family, my loved ones, and anyone else that's residing in the house. And God forbid, should you have small children. I can go back and recite you some of the incidents of people who found intruders there, and as the government was kind of pushing, as long as they're not threatening your life, you have to pause. Reasonable protection efforts are needed. And those individuals were bound, they were gagged, they were separated. The wife was horrendously raped and abused. The husband was probably physically abused, and both of those individuals got killed. And if you recall the history behind that, it started a huge scare here in Sacramento because I believe that was the East Side Strangler that I'm referring to. Yes, I remember these things. I remember of a lot of things that happened in our past that have impact presently. And the biggest one that's on the news, but it's getting pushed off to the side, is that gentleman that entered into our country illegally, acquired a California driver's license, was all the way across country in Florida, ignored the basic rules, probably didn't even understand them to begin with, made a U-turn on a freeway, and now we have 3 dead U.S. citizens. That could have happened to anybody. That could have happened at any time. That could have happened to somebody else by somebody else. You're right. It could have. But the reality is it didn't. It happened under those circumstances with that individual. For those of you that are keeping up, for those of you who feel as a candidate, I'm not your guy, for those of you that think I don't have the temperament, for those of you who think I'm a little rough around the edges, and probably at this point are probably saying I'm a little bit too conservative, I'm a little bit too harsh, I'm a little bit too blunt, I get it. I understand. It's not necessarily true, but I understand your thought process. And more than likely, let me answer it in response to those unanswered questions if you're going down that path. I'm not your guy. I'm not here to placate solely you. I'm here to represent the citizens of this state and trying to represent the citizens of this state by earning their confidence, earning their trust, to acquiring their vote to get our state back to reality and normalcy. That's what I'm about. I'm not here to give you platitudes and promises and false guarantees of what I'm going to try to do. I'm telling you exactly how I'm going to do it and what I'm doing at any given specific time. For those of you in the legislature office who might have a staffer that thinks this is something cute to watch, kill some time, pass the day, or whatever the case might be, let me inform you again what my version is on how to deal with your versions of submitting bills to a governor's desk. Because we've seen too often for so many years 2,000 or 3,000 ABs, SBs, laws, regulations, rules, and everything else roll up into the governor's desk right before the end of the fiscal year, where the governor now has, if you're lucky, 24 hours to review 60, 50, 70,000 pages of legislation that's due by midnight of the following day before they become law. You're going to do that to me one time and dump 5,000 laws on my desk for a signature. And this is what I'm going to tell you I'm going to do so that you're not surprised when it happens. Because just before the stroke of midnight, when all those are supposed to be rubber stamped by a regular person, rubber stamped by the process that we're all used to having done, I'm going to veto every one of those items en masse. Whether they're good laws, bad laws, or indifferent, en masse. And they're going to be returned right back to the legislature to go through the process correctly. And if you guys want to fight the veto, then by all means do so. If you'd like to go to court over them, then by all means do so. But you're not going to railroad me with 5,000 pieces of en masse legislation to buffalo me and pass crap law that is going to go against the citizens of this state. That's not going to happen but one time. You have all year to do that, and I look forward to working with those people who would like to pass laws that make sense and that are good for the citizens. I'd also like to recommend to the legislature, for every new law that you pass, up to 5 need to be retired or sunsetted or ended, however wordings that you want to use to make it palatable for you. Yes, I'm for that. I'm for people making and having the opportunity to grow their businesses here. I'm not for the excuses of why we had a town in 2023 just outside of Elk Grove. For those of you that think I forgot or I don't know, and for those of you who probably don't even know what I'm talking about, let me be more specific. Wilton, California, just outside of Elk Grove in 2023 was the object of horrific flooding in the area. People were evacuated. Some folks may have lost their homes. Some folks lost livestock. Some folks lost land. And why? Because a levee didn't hold. And why was that? Because the town of Wilton's request to fix those levees was rejected because the word levee was not applicable to their areas. The reports came out during that time frame that they needed at least $5 million to fix everything they needed to prevent in the future flooding of that nature again. And they were rejected. The newest report that I've read means that has reported that they need up to $10 million to fix their levee system, not designated a levee system by FEMA, in order to ensure that their town is not wiped out in another similar flood that happened in 2023. I've watched this, I've witnessed this, I've watched our government do everything possible to not help those people. And so this is what I'd like to tell the town of Wilton. This is what I'd like to tell the residents of Wilton. After hearing this nonsense and the excuses provided by our government, here is my pledge to you, the citizens of Wilton. Should I be elected as governor, we're going to give Wilton and grant them, however wording that you want to use, the $15 million they need to fix their levee system that controls flooding for their area. I expect that money to be utilized exactly for that purpose, to rebuild, restructure, repair, replace, whatever is needed, that levee system. I don't want to see that money go towards gifts, bonuses, overtime that's not needed, or wasted on the spending that is provided for. There's a catch. I'm willing to provide and to get you the money that you need so long as you actually use it for what it's designated to be used for. That's my pledge as a governor candidate in the state of California. That's what I'm working towards. Not what I'm promising, not what I'm guaranteeing, what I want to work towards. I will find you the funding that you need to protect those people from flooding so long as you use it according to what it's purposed for. For those people down there in the Palisades area, I'm traveling down there near the beginning of September. I hope to at least visit your area. This is what I'm trying to do, is to learn and ascertain why, after so long of a time frame, you have yet to be able to rebuild, to clear your property, to do anything other than to stand there and wonder what the hell is going on with your local government. I can't promise you anything as a candidate. I can't guarantee you anything as a candidate, but I can tell you this as a candidate. Should I win, I want to be able to go down there and get those so-called experts around me to find out what the hell is going on in Palisade. Who owns that property? And I'm not talking about the structure. I know who owns that. It's the person or persons who bought the structure, who built the structure. That's not in question. But the land and who owns that land seems to be in jeopardy and in question. Who actually does? The homeowner or the state? I've heard it said and I've heard it mentioned that the state owns that land, not the owner of the property. The state holds those deeds, not the owner of the property. The state is compelled to sell those off to make a buck, not for the benefit of the owner of the property. And the person who can affect changes for that is the governor, and we all know Gavin Newsom is not going to do any of those things for you. My wording for the people in Palisades is this: if elected governor, I'm going to go down there and find out everything I need to know about that area. I'm going to be brought up to speed on why the hell it's taking so long for those destroyed areas to be cleaned out, and to begin the process of starting to rebuild for those people who wish to stay there and rebuild, to rebuild their homes, to rebuild their businesses, to rebuild whatever it is that they would like to see rebuilt. I want to know why that's taking so long and where the impediment or the holdup is. And if it's local government, then be prepared to have that conversation and explanation for me as to why that is. And if there's any way I can legally surpass, get around, or move beyond those excuses, I'm going to do exactly that. I'm not guaranteeing you and I'm not promising you, but I can assure you we're going to stop pussyfooting around and start rebuilding our areas that we need to rebuild. The excuse days are done with. That's what the government of now, of today, is doing, is giving you excuses, you the public, of why they can't do anything with your money the way you want it spent. But they sure as hell can do with your money whatever they feel like for their projects. Case in point, this nonsensical redistricting issue that Gavin Newsom has propped up. Gavin has long ago walked away and abdicated his duties and responsibilities as governor to the state of California, in my humble opinion, 6 months after he was elected. He never intended to be our governor. He intended to be elected, and that was it. He filled the position, and that was it. When that gentleman now set his eyeballs on the presidency of the United States of America, California was already a foregone conclusion. Thank you, no thank you. I've got better things to do. And he's proven time and again that is exactly the type of governor he is. We are now left to our own devices. He's moved on for a political career that I would imagine that the people of this country will see the charlatan for what he is and never elect that man anywhere near the presidency of the United States of America. That's today. That's not my problem, because that's a problem for tomorrow. That's somebody else's problem, because that gentleman will be gone in 2026. Good night, good luck, goodbye, and good riddance. That's the only thing I have to say to Gavin Newsom. I'm not there to chum with you. I'm not there to be friends with you. I'm not there to hear your advice. I'm not there to seek your advice. I'm not here to know anything about how you ran this state, because in my humble opinion, you, sir, are the greatest failure this state has had in a 175-year history. You have made a mark and a historical landmarking situation and left a record that I will never try to obtain, I will never match, nor will I ever succeed. You, sir, are about failure. I, sir, am about prosperity, progress, and winning. Something that has been remiss in the state of California for many years is how to win. We've gotten accustomed and grown accustomed to mediocrity. We have not grown accustomed to winning. And Gavin Newsom, as the leader of this state, has let it filter down to the staff on his staffing people, that they now have boldly and proudly gone around to state, and it's been on record about it. When it comes to the Republican Party, their mentality towards us is those people are nothing more than professional losers who know how to do one thing: lose. For 30 years, that speaks for itself. And I'm here to tell you, for those citizens of the state of California, for those people who are watching, for those people who are even interested to know, that's the candidate they're used to, not the candidate that you're looking at. My goal is to win. My goal is to get out of 50th place for adult education, as it was reported back in 2023, early 2024. My goal is to see prosperity. My goal is to get people educated in this state to be the scientists that we keep having to import in, the electrical technicians, the electrical geniuses, the computer geniuses that we keep excusing ourselves to import in, while people in America are being languished, if you listen to the news, with overeducated college folks who have no ability to get a job because there are no jobs out there. Well, how is that if we keep exporting our jobs and requesting immigrants to come in under the H-1B1 process? We either have jobs or we don't. I'm not here to hear the platitudes or the excuses of government officials. I'm here to find out the facts of what the hell's going on and what do we need to do and how do we go about fixing it. That's what I'm about. There are individuals in this state that are comfortable with the 9-to-5 job because that's our 9-to-5 mentality. I show up in the morning and do what I do, and at 5 o'clock I'm gone. I'm out of here. Administrators, and you know who you are because I'm talking directly at you. You're on salary. You've grown comfortable because it's been allowed to happen at some point in time where all you have to do as a director, as an administrator, as the boss, is show up for 5 or 10 minutes, maybe a day for the month, to clock your check and keep it moving. You'll let your sub-managers, your lower management teams run the office. And they've gotten comfortable of disappearing too, because then they cut loose the supervisors who claim that they're overworked, but you're only supervising 4 people in a job site. How the hell is that overworked? I've seen in the county supervisors that only had 4 people as supervisors. Most of their day was spent around harboring other employees and harassing them because it's what they did to make their job and to make them feel better. I fought against those people as a union rep, so I know exactly what I'm talking about. It's not platitudes. This is not rhetoric. This is fact that I've seen and witnessed firsthand. How are you going to deal with the unions, Leo? Same way I dealt with the union when I was a member and I was a board executive with the union, a governing board member. If you're a union rep, here's my stance on that issue. I'm willing to sit down and have that rational conversation. If you're used to the politician that you think you can outdistance them, outrun them, out-endure them, because you have the money and you have the will to fight, I'm letting you know right now, I'm not the guy. I have just as much fortitude, if not more. The only thing I don't have are the direct resources. But if elected governor, now we're going to be on a playing field that's level. Supervisors, I expect you to supervise employees, not harass them, not to find the one that you don't like and take great pains to disparage that individual because it's a feather in your hat. The one thing I pride myself as being a non-commissioned officer in the United States Army, I never went after a soldier just because I could to put a feather in my hat. If I went after a soldier, that's because that soldier was defiant. They were in subordination. They did everything opposite of what they were told to do. And yes, they suffered the consequences because of it. But I didn't target soldiers. I didn't target individuals to remove them from the service, to destroy their careers, their person, or anything else, simply and solely because it was a Tuesday, I was bored and had nothing to do. As a supervisor, I expect you to train your staff to be good at what they do and to encourage them to promote, to get higher responsibilities in their job descriptions. But I don't expect you to stay around for only 4 people. We need to make some changes structurally in supervisor statuses, and I'd like to see that ratio go up from 1 to 4 to 1 to 8, and near 1 to 10 if that's possible. For those of you that are mid-level managers, let me assure you, you better have a functionality in your job, and you better be managing your supervisors accordingly. These reports of supervisors being caught playing golf while drawing hundreds of thousands of dollars a year paychecks and overtime will be done with. Responsible, I'm not looking for accountability, I'm looking for responsibility. If that supervisor was caught, that manager is going to suffer the same fate, termination, because you failed to manage. Supervisors manage 10 people, you manage 5 supervisors, figure out the math. For those of you in administration, the top tier, the boss, as they say, I'm also sending a message out to you as well. If you believe that your salary entitles you to show up to work 1 day a week, 1 week out of the month, a few hours, a few minutes, whatever the case might be, then do what is so often told to employees who don't like the environment. Prep up your resume and start looking. because you're not going to be in that department much longer. You, sir or ma'am, are failing to direct, administer, or run your organization. And the ones that I'm starting with are EDD, the Employment Development Departments, and the DMV, especially in light of the nonsense that happened over these commercial driver's licenses. I've personally written to Governor DeSantis and to the families of those that were impacted by that horrific accident. Personally have written. I've personally taken the responsibility to apologize for our state's failure. I've acted more of a governor than the current governor has running this state, because he couldn't even bring himself to come into public to make any type of a statement, and I have. That's what governors do. They take responsibility for what's happening under their leadership or their watch. It's very sad of what transpired to those people in Florida. My heart goes out to them, and on behalf of the people of California, I sent them my deepest respect because of that loss that should never have happened. That wasn't because of a screw-up of an individual driving a truck. That wasn't because of a screw-up of somebody granting a license and they slipped through the cracks. That was called political gamemanship that cost somebody their life. And as governor, my mentality went beyond today, and I looked towards the future impact of that one incident. And I asked Governor DeSantis personally, as a candidate, please do not take the stance for your state or for any other state of this union to harm, hamper, or impede our over-the-road truckers and the trucking industry because of that one incident and the failure of our governmental institutions. I don't want to see our trucking industry crippled every time they go out of the state of California to cross the country to deliver the goods and services we need and our nation needs because of a systematic failure in providing adequate driver's licenses, training, and education. But that possibility now exists. That rhetoric is even starting to get talked about by the President of the United States of America. I've already thought about what could possibly happen from the ramifications of that accident, and now it's starting to come to fruition from others higher up the food chain. That's called anticipating a problem. That's not called being fearful of the future, sirs. That's what I've been taught in my service time in the military. Here's the problem. How do we foresee the future to prevent it? How do we react to make sure it's not going to happen again? And if that's not possible, how do we mitigate the impact of it happening? There's many things that go into the mind of a governor when they're running for office and when they actually acquire the office. Today, the one singular item that might make one or two of you happy are not it. There's over 30 million people in this state to consider. And you have to consider all of them. Unlike a county council member here in Sacramento who was on record of saying, if you voted for Trump, you don't exist in my eyes. You are dead to me. That individual should no longer be on a county council seat in the city of Sacramento, much less the county of Sacramento. And I'm talking about Mr. Cerna. That was the most disrespectful thing I've ever heard a politician say to their constituency. I may not have liked the individual that I represented in the union. I may have not liked that individual's political views, personal views, their mode of dress, how they look, how they acted outside of the workforce, but that was not my problem. My problem was directing and being asked to represent them in the face of management for whatever discrepancy management was trying to impose on the individual. And the same thing happened to the individuals. They might not have liked me because they didn't like how I looked, sounded, dressed, acted, or anything else, but they knew exactly who to go to for the representation that they needed to defend themselves against false accusations. And one young lady comes to mind. She personally did not like me because of my disposition. She didn't like me because of my political viewpoints, and she sure as hell didn't like me because sometimes I expressed myself and gave my opinions. But she did appreciate, and she had no other place to say but thank you when I defended her against false charges and allegations. In short, her commentaries to me were, I might not like who you are, but I appreciate what you did. That's impactful. I might not have changed that individual's mind, and if they're out there and they're able to vote, I very seriously doubt they would vote for me based on my personality, but I would put to the test whether they would vote for me based on my abilities to defend people. I would put that to the test any day of the week. So this is something that's different. This is something that's not rhetoric. This is something that's not hysteria. Oh my God, the world's falling apart. They're going crazy in the legislature. They're doing this, they're doing that. Look what they're doing on redistricting. They turned off so-and-so's microphone. While we're all being distracted from that, we are steadily marching towards December of 2025, when we need to know who our candidates are, as we have individuals who are focused and fixated on telling you, the voter, who to vote for and who to ignore, because they have already decided who your candidates will be. My point of contention with that is this. You're sounding more like the democratic process and more like the democratic machinery in government than you are of the Republican side of the argument. That's not what Ronald Reagan stand for. That's not what Rush Limbaugh stand for. That's not what any conservative Republican who is honest and morally decent stands for. You've heard this nonsense before. Leo, you don't understand. We have too many Republicans in the race. There might be 1,000 of them. What are you afraid of? Who cares? If there's 1,000 candidates running for governor right now, who cares? So what? You're more afraid of having 1,000 people running than I am having to deal with them in the campaign for the race. Because we all know that come December 2025, the official filing starts. Now it's put up or shut up time. Now you have to come out of pocket. Now you have to get the voters to sign off on the paperwork so that you don't get charged to put your name on the ballot for the June primary. You have 1,000 candidates. I guarantee you the public knows fully well who the chaff is from the wheat. They know who the BSers are from the reality people. They know who the con men are from the ones that are actually trying to stand and say something. But what you're trying to do is confuse the issue by telling people we have to win no matter what the cost. And I would like to challenge people on that statement as well. We have to win no matter the cost. What then, sir or ma'am, are you willing to sell just to get the chair of governorship for this state? Taxpayer money? Political campaign donations? Your sister, your daughter, your mom, your dad, old people, young people, middle-aged people, your soul? What is it that you are willing to achieve and acquire no matter the cost just to get it? And if that's what you've come up with as the response to that argument, that it doesn't matter so long as we win, then let me go ahead and make this specifically clear for you folks as well. I'm not your guy. I still have a moral standing and a moral compass to follow. At the end of the day, I still have to sleep and wake up knowing who I am inside of me. That I've made the right decision. I have no compulsions against that. Are people going to be upset? Yes. Am I going to lose votes over this video? I'm quite sure I already have, if I haven't already. Am I going to lose donors? I'm quite sure that's going to happen too. But if we're going to be blunt and honest, as I said, sometimes I can be blunt and honest, then let's go down that path. I'm going to lose people because of my stance on the Second Amendment. I didn't answer fast enough for them, so I've lost their vote. I'm going to lose people because I was a former union member. I've lost their vote automatically. It doesn't matter what I do. They refused to vote for me because I was in the union. I'm going to lose people's votes because on how I feel on the LGBT question, how I feel on the illegal question, how I feel about oil, how I feel about go green, how I feel about transportation, how I feel about X, Y, and Z issue that they are hot and pro this or that for. I'm going to lose votes because of that and the fact that I'm a Republican running for the California governor chair in 2026. If that's what you're looking for, somebody whose hair looks like Gino Gavin Newsom's, somebody whose smile is toothy like Gino Gavin Newsom, somebody who's got the girly man look like Arnold Schwarzenegger because they can pump weights over their head 50 times in a minute. If you're looking for the guy that doesn't wear glasses, doesn't have a mustache, looks great in a uniform, you haven't seen me in mine, so we won't go there. If that's what you are looking for in a candidate, we have an issue as a state. This is not about voter ID problems. Maybe we need to have people have a test to vote. Because when you look at a candidate and say they got a great smile, that's the only reason why I voted for them. Oh my God. Really? Think about that, people. Look at where our state is at. To me, in my humble opinion, this is a generational lifetime moment. We have a historic event getting ready to transpire in 2026. Gino Gavin Newsom is gone. The con artist is gone. The family connections is gone. The family impact of the Pelosi's, of the money, of the wealth, of the background is gone. Republicans have an opportunity to take not one, as they desperately seek, but two of the top two positions in the primaries. I feel that. They don't. The difference between somebody who's striving to win and somebody who's content with mediocrity is exactly that. I'm looking to put two Republicans in the primary race in the top two positions. They're content and happy if they're lucky to get one. You tell me who's the more looking forward, who is the more looking towards winning with that statement. The Democrats can't even figure out who they are. The news media can't figure out who they are. The written media, Sacramento Bee is an example, can't figure out who they are or what they stand on because they all sound alike. And for those military folks out there, you've heard the old adage, close is only good in hand grenades and nukes. But also you've heard this adage too, for many of you who have ever been on a firing range. I don't know where that bullet came from, but it went into your target, so we score it for you. Cheesy way. But that's happened too. You can look at this however you want. You can review this however you want. You can call me egotistical. You can call me maniacal. You can call me narcissistic. You can call me whatever satisfies your method of calling me for my next statement. For those of you who feel that I'm the type of candidate that's going nowhere, that I'm the type of candidate that has no chance, that I and many others like me are the type of candidates that need to bow out because you said so, for what you're seeking, let me ask you this and then make a statement. If we have nothing to run on or with, then explain to me, please, how the Patriots in 1775 stood up against the premier power of the world, which at the time was England, and after numerous defeats, constantly, engagement after engagement after engagement, to the point of the army was on the status of near mutiny by the winter, near Valley Forge. How did they overcome to win and secure the nation and establish it for what it is today? And for those of you who feel that this candidate is unworthy of your time or your effort because you feel I'm not tailored enough for you, mature enough for you, I'm too much of a diamond in the rough, or I'm ornery, I'm still here. And our lieutenant governor, the darling Miss Alani, the one that the Democrats in 2023 thought was going to be the champion of the Newsom legacy because she was the favored, or have you forgotten that too? She was the favored to win this race. It was just a matter of going through the process because the deal was already signed, sealed, and delivered. I'm here still running. She's removed herself from the race to now run for something else. And I'm sorry, that's similar to Kamala Harris's run for presidency when she removed herself from running before the first vote was even cast in the Iowa caucus during that time frame. I remember that as well. That's what we call, however you want to put it, political expediency. We were looking at the tea leaves. No, you quit. That's what you did, ma'am. You quit. And California is better served by you doing just that, because if you had been elected governor, we already know how you stand on the hard stuff for life. You would probably quit and run. I'm still here. I'll still be running. And until the fat lady sings, this song is not over with. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time. Thank you for your considerations. God bless you all. Have a great evening and a wonderful weekend. And please, please, please stay hydrated. Drink water in this heat. Don't become a heat casualty. Enjoy the summer, but don't lose your life over it. God bless you all and take care.